The Kingdom of Kanem, also known as Kanem, was a historical African state situated in present-day Chad. Thriving from the 9th to the 14th century CE, it emerged in the heart of Africa, on the eastern shores of Lake Chad. The kingdom was established by a confederation of nomadic groups and governed by the Sahara dynasty. Its strategic location allowed it to flourish as a trade hub, connecting various regions including Central Africa, the Nile Valley, and North African territories across the Sahara Desert. Embracing Islam in the 11th century CE after prolonged interaction with Muslim scholars and traders, the kingdom's influence grew. Eventually, in the 1390s CE, Kanem's ruler was compelled to escape the invading Bulala people, leading to the establishment of a new state on the opposite side of Lake Chad, the Bornu Empire, sometimes referred to as the Kanem-Bornu Empire, which lasted until the late 19th century CE. The Kingdom of Kanem, located east of Lake Chad in Central Africa, might have derived its name from the Tedder and Kanuri term for south, Anim, possibly referring to its position relative to the more well-known northern states. This name might also reflect the oral tradition suggesting that the Kanem people had once migrated from the increasingly arid Sahara Desert. The process of forming the Kanem kingdom is succinctly described by historian P. Curtin. The foundation of Kanem followed a unique path compared to the Western Sudan. Initially, it was a confederation of nomadic groups speaking distinct Tedadaza languages, likely forming in the 9th century. Similar nomadic confederations can be found in history. What sets this one apart is its cohesiveness. Prior to the 12th century, it transitioned to a sedentary lifestyle, establishing Njimi as its permanent capital. 75 The earliest textual reference to Kanem dates back to 872 CE and can be found in the work of Arab historian and geographer al-Yaqubi, Kitab al-Buldan. While the state's formation may have occurred even earlier, this reference underscores the aforementioned political process. It indicates that the population mainly comprised nomads dwelling in reed huts and lacked permanent settlements. It's noted that the kings of Kanem, referred to as Zergawa in Arab sources, ruled over other kings, possibly the tribes they had subjugated north and east of Lake Chad. Arab historian al-Mahalabi, writing in the 10th century CE, observes that the kingdom had 2 towns at that time and displayed prosperity through sizable herds of cattle, sheep, camels, and horses. Around 1075 CE, the Sahara dynasty took control of Kanem. This period saw the ascendancy of the Kanuri people within the population. The ruler held the title of Mai. A prominent figure among the kings was Mai Dunama Diblamai, reigned approximately 1221 to 1259 CE, who significantly expanded the kingdom northward and northeastward into the desert. This expansion was largely achieved through the use of cavalry. Military commanders were rewarded for their service with governance of newly conquered territories, and strategic intermarriage between royal families solidified the influence of new chieftains within the Kanem kingdom. Conquered tribes were obligated to pay tribute to Kanem's kings, often in the form of slaves. By the end of the 13th century CE, the kingdom reached its zenith, even extending its dominion to the crucial Saharan oases of the Fezzan region. However, this hold on Fezzan was relatively short-lived, lasting only around 50 years. Mai Diblamai was a fervent opponent of the traditional pagan religion, actively ordering the destruction of related artifacts and symbols. He also imposed elements of Islamic law. Despite this, the authority of Kanem's kings seemed absolute and not entirely in line with the conventional practice of Islam. The timeline of Kanem's adoption of Islam is not entirely clear. By the early 13th century CE, Islam was practiced more widely among the general population, as pre-existing Arab sources state that the kingdom was still pagan before that time. The first recorded Muslim ruler was Hu, also known as Hawa, reigned 1067 to 1071 CE, who might have been a queen. Subsequent Kanem rulers embarked on pilgrimages to Islamic holy sites in North Africa and Arabia. Additionally, one king established a Muslim educational institution, madrasa, in Fustat, Egypt, in 1324 CE. The adoption of Islam by the rulers might have been driven by various factors, including gaining favor with Muslim traders and enhancing their wealth to maintain power. It's possible that a new dynasty further legitimized itself by adopting a new religion. The dates align with a shift to the Sahara dynasty. While trade played a role, it's important to note that missionaries, starting from the 11th century CE, actively contributed to the spread of Islam. They were well received, often receiving gifts such as camels, slaves, and precious metals for teaching the Quran. Unlike many other places, Kanem experienced a higher rate of ordinary people adopting Islam alongside the ruling elite. Starting around 900 CE, the Kingdom of Kanem played a crucial role as the endpoint of a camel caravan route that spanned the Sahara Desert, facilitating trade between Tripolitania, modern Libya, and Cairo in North Africa with Central Africa. This Trans-Saharan route was highly effective, benefiting from well-established oases in the Fezzan region. Another route connected Kanem to the east and the Nile Valley through the Kawa salt pans. The kingdom served as a conduit for various commodities including salt, copper, also used as currency, tin from Nigeria, cotton, hides, kola nuts, ivory, ostrich feathers, camels, and gold. Slaves were also an integral part of the trade, obtained through capture from neighboring chiefdoms or offered as tribute to the kings of Kanem. The elite of Kanem utilized their amassed wealth to acquire imported luxury items such as embroidered cloth, silk, jewelry, and iron weapons. Alongside material goods, ideas also traversed these trade routes, with the most prominent being the Islamic religion. The Bornu Empire emerged when an exiled king from Kanem, Umar B. Idris, established it. His action followed the takeover of Kanem by the Bulala, an enigmatic group that may have been a single tribe or clan of pastoralists. The fall of Kanem to the Bulala between 1390 and 1400 CE was partly attributed to incessant civil wars within the royal family over the right to rule. Although the ruling dynasty of Kanem essentially became the rulers of Bornu, the process through which they asserted their authority over the indigenous So people on the western shores of Lake Chad remains unclear. Eventually, the So people assimilated the Kanuri language and culture. This move benefited the Kanem kings, as the region west of Lake Chad was richer in iron deposits. The Bornu Empire, also known as the Kanem-Bornu Empire or Borno Empire, established its capital in Gazagamo. It gradually extended its control over both sides of Lake Chad from the 16th century CE by annexing the former Kanem territory. The empire continued to thrive until the late 19th century CE, when the French assumed control as part of their ambitious project to establish a horizontal chain of colonies across Africa.